Gundam.tk presents High Grade AGE-1 Sparrow. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184 from Gundam.tk, which is GundamReviews.net. And as you see the advanced grade Sparrow going around there, you may notice that there's a whole bunch of completed parts for the high grade and the empty plates, which means it's time to replace this guy with a much better, though double the price version. No difficulties whatsoever putting this guy together, and when he's done, what do you think? My first impression is that he's very Zeta 2-ish, and as we've seen with some of the GFFs and things like that, the Zeta 2 is very tall, very sleek, and very angular, and that's the same kind of effect I'm getting with this. He certainly looks different from any other lead Gundam or their variations. The legs are very long and slim, and those skinny shoulders, the color wraps are looking fantastic. But in terms of proportions, I gotta say, it's a very unique look and one that's really grown on me. In terms of mobility, you're gonna have no problems bringing the legs forward, except for these skirts, which you can bend up and out of the way, but you'll get almost a 45-degree kick out there. The side skirts are just on a ball joint, so don't move them too much, but you can get the legs out for almost full splits. The knees, as you saw in the parts of the video, is going to give you a 135, if not a little more, and the ankles are going to rock forward like this and move pretty well off to the side. The upper body is going to allow you to rotate around, except you can expect the V-fin and that rear spoiler to get in the way. You can work around that though. But the shoulders, remember, go up and down even though this is just a high grade, and the shoulders, because it has this white part on there, can also bend out this much, so you can actually have the arms go all the way out and get that shoulder part up there despite being skinny up at a nice 45-degree angle. The arms are going to rotate around, and the bend, somewhat disappointing that you're only going to be getting this much. You could go back if that's useful at all, I don't know why. The thrusters are going to open up, and the wrists are just on a regular PC5, which is going to sit in there. And yes, it's cool to see the unique hands on either arm. In terms of height comparison, the Sparrow should be taller than the normal and the Titus, and it's even taller than the real grade Freedom here, which is one of the taller Gundams as it is. In terms of overall looks, you've just again got that completely skinny look, no power, all speed. The Freedom was pretty sleek before you put him all his weapons in. The big shoulders certainly add to that, but I'm always impressed with just how much more real grades 2,500 yen compared to the 12 is going to get you. This one comes across as looking like a plastic and smooth toy, whereas this one can come across as looking like a much more impressive piece of machinery, but that's completely to be expected unless this guy is ever going to be joining the real grade ranks. But back to comparing apples to apples instead of apples to similarly sized oranges, you've got the high-grade Ages kit here, the Zetis, which is the whole reason that the Sparrow exists, because the normal and the Titus just didn't have the speed to keep up with this guy. In terms of size and overall power though, the Zetis has the edge in pretty much every department. Bigger, stronger, faster looking, and a little bit more intimidating. The color wraps, you're only going to see 3 colors on this guy if you don't count the pink or red there on the eyes. The Sparrow, I think, takes the edge for looks, but overall he comes across as being a lot smaller compared to his enemy. And you've seen 3 grades of the same size here with the 1/144th. This is the advanced grade on the right, and you're going to see that the height of the high grade is just a little bit taller. He's also more filled out in pretty much every way. The shoulders are taller, everything about the legs. They have very similar details, but in terms of the colors, you're going to have the white feet and the white ankles. You also miss these white parts there on the arms, and especially up on the shoulders. I didn't realize how impressive these parts were until I saw them side by side. But overall, you have to give the advanced grade at least a lot of credit for bringing off most of the same colors, despite the fact that it's a much cheaper and much more impulse buy kind of thing. Where you see the real things lacking though is just in that it doesn't have the sticker on the chest and the details in the head, which are going to take a little bit of paint and stickers to get them up. Most important for me though, however, is that these white parts, which I thought might be detrimental, really do add something to this and make him look a little bit more Gundam-y, because Gundams, especially the leads, should be white, and that extra little bit of color just brings out the good guy in him, I feel. Arming this guy up takes no difficulty whatsoever, because it's just going to involve bending down that part in the back of the waist armor and inserting the Shiggle blade, which is going to look pretty dull with the white on white there, although it does protrude a little bit, so you will see it from the front more often than not. And though he's not going to win any extra points for his extras, the Shiggle blade is going to look cool enough, and combine that with the fact that he's got great posability. Those arms and shoulders are really growing on me. The legs are going to get where you need them to be, even though this one's not quite sitting flat. There, it looks like this guy has nothing but possibilities in terms of posing. Including this one, which is probably gonna prove to be my favorite. It's very Assassin's Creed-y, or if you want to go back to G Gundam and the Spiegel, this is a fantastic pose and an addition to any shelf. The way the legs are going to bend, they're just like the Nobel Gundams in that they can move in any direction. No problems at all getting them lined up front to back. And if you put that blade in backwards, it's looking very cool combined with that other fist in the left hand. I hardly move the upper body at all, but you can get those legs down in all sorts of positions, although the ankle again is not quite down flat there. It's not going to matter though because there's no weight issues with a kit this small, and he can look pretty impressive even down there getting ready for a low blow. Popping out this cap down below is going to allow you to attach an action base to, or the HGFC Nobels in this case. And depending on which angle you look at this pose, I think it's pretty good, and not so much from this side. Here you've got the dynamic right hand. The box art seems to be showing that he can hold the blade in either hand with equal no problems. And when you see him like this, I think that's going to look pretty alright, especially if you fix up the color of that blade. The needle gun's not going to have as much visual oomph as you'd like it to have, but again, just the dynamic dashing poses that you can make with this guy are all going to add to his overall impressiveness, and it's not all that bad. Somewhat disappointing that the legs don't come up any higher than that, even though that is pretty good. The fact that these needle guns though are down so low really does detriment their visibility in terms of just showing off. But in a pose like this, even with both legs up, you can imagine he just ran circles around somebody in terms of speed, and is now offering them a knee full of needles. I don't know if that's quite so impressive though from other angles. One feature though that does seem to get lost in the mix, he looks pretty good dashing, but these thrusters, even when you open them up, it's a great idea to have them, but just the fact that they're doomed to be hidden in the back means they're not going to be that visible unless you bring the forearm all the way forward to show them off. And then you're not going to be getting any aft acceleration. However, those running poses are worthy of the Olympics, it seems. That'll wrap up my look at the mobile suit, so why don't you let me know what you think of it with a comment down below and what you think of this video. The Sparrow has certainly grown on me, some detrimental things, but a lot of positives, so stay tuned for the final verdict, where you can hear them all in one place so that you can make a call as to whether or not this is a kit you may want to add to your Gundam Age collection with the normal and the Titus. Anyway, everybody, Robert184, gundam.tk and gundamreviews.net. Don't forget to check that site out, and we'll see you next time with lots more to come. Bye. Speed champion, you say? Have you ever met my friend, Infinite Justice?